Ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment you've been waiting for. PEAK IDV Live is starting now. I'm pleased to introduce your host, Steve Craig, founder and Chief Enablement Officer of PEAK IDV. Take it away, Steve.
Welcome to PEAK IDV Live. I'm your host, Steve Craig, founder and Chief Enablement Officer of PEAK IDV. PEAK IDV Live is our new streaming format featuring real leaders, real world stories, real talk, real identity, fraud, and risk topics live. I'm thrilled to introduce today's topic, the limited availability launch of a new on-demand course on PEAK IDV Academy, a marketplace risk bootcamp developed by Jeremy Gottschalk, the founder and CEO of Marketplace Risk. Jeremy is a pioneer in the field of marketplaces and digital platforms. With nearly 20 years of experience as a lawyer, operator, and consultant to venture capitalists, founders, and operators, he has become an industry-leading voice for legal strategy and risk management. Introducing now, Jeremy. Welcome to PEAK IDV Live.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Now, PEAK IDV and Marketplace Risk have collaborated a few times in 2023, including your participation in the Executive Series podcast. Thank you for that. And then Marketplace Risk presented the PEAK IDV Identity Verification Bootcamp for marketplaces. We had 40 companies, 70 students, and now we're collaborating on the first time ever this limited availability of the Marketplace Risk Bootcamp. Now you've developed this bootcamp over the last few years of your career, and in this PEAK IDV Live, I want to give the audience a little bit more insight about it. But before we jump into that, could you share a little bit more, like what drives your continued collaboration with me and PEAK IDV?
Sure. It's part of what I really like about what PEAK IDV is doing is being a truly objective resource for people to navigate an identity space. I think probably people are tired of me saying this, but digital identity is the core of trust and safety, right? You can't have a trusted platform, marketplace, or frankly, internet if you can't properly identify the users. And so I think it's critically important that resources like this exist that are kind of objective, thorough. You do a really good deep dive. And so, for us, it's very similar to what we do, but obviously you're drilling down much deeper into this topic that I think is so key for people. So I think it's a great way to elevate this topic with yourself and the content that you deliver, because it's so much deeper of a treatment than we would do.
Excellent. Yeah, I appreciate and love the collaboration. Thank you so much. Well, let's talk about the bootcamp that we're launching. Can you share more about this one in particular, the target audience, what the learners can expect?
Sure. So going back to kind of what you referenced a minute ago, for nearly 20 years, I've been practicing law, and started out as an IP lawyer, but then very quickly started working with startups and particularly marketplace startups. And over the last 15 years or so, have been heavily focused on marketplaces, as you mentioned, both as an operator in-house, but also as an external lawyer and consultant. And I function as a fractional general counsel to a lot of marketplaces. The thing I see over and over and over again are kind of common mistakes, a lack of understanding of basic kind of risk management strategies that if people were made aware of them, I think would do a lot more to protect themselves, but also to protect their communities. So I developed this boot camp ultimately because as a human being, I don't scale very much. And there's such a need to get this content in front of people. In terms of target audience, we don't have a specific target in the sense of early stage startups or founders or late stage or scale ups, because we find is that a lot of this information is just not known. These are a lot of blind spots for people. And so I think that there's an opportunity for platforms, marketplaces of all sizes, shapes, and I think for the people within them as well, because it's designed as a cross-functional treatment of risk management, trust and safety, regulatory, subject matter, legal strategy, et cetera. So there's really good opportunity for cross-functional teams at all sizes of platforms to learn.
What are some of the topics that you cover within this bootcamp, Jeremy?
Sure. There are 10 modules. It starts with some of the, I shouldn't say starts with, some of the more important or where we spend a lot more time is on the CDA, the Communications Decency Act, Section 230 defense, terms of use, privacy policies, screening, background checks, insurance policy and program design, responding to incidents, things like that. So within those 10 modules, we go pretty deep on a lot of these topics. And the idea is not necessarily to make experts out of people, rather to help people to issue spot and to know when to get others involved, whether it's the lawyers or consultants, et cetera. And so the idea is really to do a deep enough treatment of these topics so that people are armed with enough information to at least issue spot and ultimately to identify the risks, to prevent, avoid, and mitigate them.
Yeah, working in the course material, I've very comprehensive. I've not seen anything else like it in the market or for marketplaces. One of the interesting things about the launch of the bootcamp is there's also going to be, for the first time ever, a marketplace risk certification against this course, this bootcamp. Can you share more about the certification process? What does that entail?
Sure. So within the 10 modules, we've created an exam, ultimately, that will test the learner on their comprehension of the various modules. And again, the idea is really to issue spot. And when creating the bootcamp, I wanted to organize it in a way that uses what we'll call kind of normal language, right? Not legalese, not theory, but actual usable, useful information. And so the exam that will lead to the certification will test the learners on what they've learned across those 10 modules. And I think it's a really good way to get people to really pay attention and understand the content so that they can apply it, right? Instead of just having a course with a certification for completing it, right? You might not absorb all of the information sufficient to actually apply it. And that's what we're really looking for, is for people to learn and to be able to apply this information.
Yeah, that's great. Certifications are a powerful way to demonstrate to others that you have that foundational knowledge. You may not be a full expert in it, but going through this boot camp, passing a written exam, and being able to show, hey, I have this level of knowledge, I think is pretty helpful in whether it's in your career or making job changes. How do you think someone who's at a larger, more established marketplace might leverage this boot camp or this material?
Sure. As I say, anybody within an organization can cause the organization to create risk or create risk for the organization, right? So every company, just by opening their doors, if you think about brick and mortar, or platform, if you think digitally, as soon as they launch or as soon as they open their doors, there's risk, right? And for some platforms, there's less risk, and others there's greater risk. The reality is anybody within an organization can increase that risk profile. And so ultimately, I think that even if they're at a larger organization, the ability to issue spot some of these topics in their daily work will certainly help. So, just to give you an example, you've got marketers at a large organization. We talk a lot about content that's on the website and marketing copy and things that can cause liability. Your terms of service, the CDA, right? You've got technologists, you've got marketers, you've got, many players within an organization that can be helpful to the risk mitigation strategy or frankly harm it. And so whether it's a large organization or a small organization, I think the content will be relevant, useful, and actionable. The thing about a smaller organization, I think you find that the employees there, or the founders in many cases, they have to wear many, many hats. As you get to a larger organization, right? The different functions are dispersed more so that people aren't responsible for various areas within an organization, various areas of responsibility or functions within an organization. And so I think that anybody at a small organization is going to benefit, but as well as a large organization, just because we cover such a broad range of topics.
This boot camp and the material you've been presenting at the beginning of your conference in San Francisco for the last few years, and for most of that time, I think it's always been closed only to marketplaces and operators. It's not been available to solution providers or vendors. With it now being on demand, it is available now to vendors and solution providers. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's available to anyone, and I think that part of the reason that we've not opened it before is in a spatial issue ultimately, right? But the other thing is we encourage people to really get engaged in the live version. And a lot of times they have questions about different solutions and, what's the difference and what questions should they ask. And so in order to create an environment where the attendees feel they can openly ask questions and I can answer them, we've limited it to platforms. But in this boot camp, it's all the same content. There's no Q&A. There's not any questions that are asked, and I'm not providing any answers. And so there's no issue with the vendors or solution providers attending it. And also, I think that what they would get out of it is to understand what are these big issues that platforms are dealing with, because undoubtedly, right, they want to solve the problems and help these platforms mitigate risk. And this treatment is really from a marketplace or digital platforms help to inform kind of what their customers or prospective customers are facing.
It's a really good point. When I was working at a solution provider, I saw that boot camp. This is years ago, and I was like, man, I'd love to be in the boot camp just to learn what challenges are being faced, to have that customer empathy. So I think if someone goes through this who's on the solution provider or vendor side, they're going to get maybe more context than what their solution does, but a better picture of their audience and who they're solving their problems for.
I think that's right. I think that's right.
Now, this is a limited availability, if I could speak, launch, and it's only available for a short period of time. How long do people have to access this course on PEAK IDV Academy?
Yeah, it goes live next week, and then it is live or available through January. And so, I would urge people to get on it soon. Because there's a ton of great content here and a great opportunity to learn and to stand out from the crowd in terms of knowledge and the resulting certification.
And how is the course priced? What can people expect in terms of purchasing it?
Sure. So the course is $9.95, and that gives you access to all of the content. Plus, there's a ton of extra resources for people to dig even deeper into different modules. That's the exam that is graded by us, our team, and the resulting certification. But for the first 10 attendees or registrants, using the promo code FIRST10, it'll be 50% off. And so it's a great opportunity to get the access to the certification and the bootcamp at a great discount.
Excellent. Well, I'll include the direct link to the course page as well as the coupon code to be used. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for your continued support and collaboration. I look forward to seeing the first enrollments and having your community join in the PEAK IDV Academy. And thanks again for joining PEAK IDV Live today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.